буде Алстрова. Ми буде просто, я 2 хвилини хочу дати загалом інформації для преси. Order буде Feduschak, Magocsi, Hrynevych, Nakhmanovych і тоді Гулька. Добре? І тоді Вегер, Zalmayev.
Я хотів запитати, книжку тримати в руках, чи її якось, як ви її будете показувати?
Я думаю, що можете тримати в руках, тоді коли будете по неї розказувати, ми просто камеру на вас не ведемо, на книжку маю, щоб її було ліпше видно. Окей. І до вас одне прохання, щоб ви під час виступу говорили не швидко, оскільки у нас синхронний переклад. 1 хвилина ми почнемо. Up to you, or this minutes
30 minutes max.
It's about, well, 30, a little bit longer, because now we have more of us. And so, Pavlo, you just give an update, пане Віталій, і скажіть просто про експозицію, що буде в Українському домі і в музеї, а ви додати overall welcoming speech, how long we worked to get to this point. Okay?
Шановні колеги,
Dear colleagues, we start our working day at Ukraine Crisis Media Center. And the topic of the first press briefing is Babyn Yar, a commemoration program of the event and the new commemorative book. Our guests are Prof. Magocsi, member of the board, the Ukrainian Jewish counter, chair of the Ukrainian studies at the University of Toronto. And also Dr. Vladyslav Hrynevych, senior research fellow at the Jewish History and Cultural Development Kuras Institute of Political and Ethnic Studies, National Academy of Sciences. Dr. Vitaliy Nakhmanovych, executive secretary of the Public Committee for Commemoration of Babyn Yar victims, senior research fellow at the Museum of Kyiv, Zalmayev, American Jewish Committee, and Natalia Feduschak, director of the communications, and Prof. Head of commemorative concert. Good afternoon, everyone. Natalia, you are given the floor, please. Good afternoon. Thank you. I would like to give information to the press, and then my colleagues will tell you about their programs. I would like to say that our program is open for press. There will be a student seminar and public seminar, and there will be awards. Also, there will be space for general public, and there will be press announcement, press release, and you can find information there. And everything will be provided there, all the information. And also for e-media, we will provide opportunity that they can attend the rehearsal of this concert on the 28th. But I would like to ask you to send me an email that you want to be present, and all the information will be in the press release. Thank you. Now the floor is given to Prof. Magocsi.
We are just a few days away from the beginning of a monumental project, Babyn Yar, a commemoration. This is a project which actually began not 1 month ago, 6 months ago, not 1 year ago, but 2 years ago. The Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, based in Toronto, Canada, felt that this was something very necessary to do, not only in terms of paying homage to the Jewish community here in Kyiv and Ukraine that was terribly destroyed 75 years ago, but also to pay homage and assist present-day Ukraine, and to show the rest of the world how Ukraine as a democratic state deals with issues not only of the present, but also of the past. This, by the way, is not an easy thing to do at a time when this country is at war. And in many ways, one can say that this is a mark of sophistication and already growth, that a country which has incredibly difficult problems still at the same time can reflect on its historical past and on the need to do justice to all of its citizens, past and present, who have in one way or another experienced a difficulty or tragedy. And of course this means not only the Jews of Ukraine during the last years or the beginning of World War II, but also ethnic Ukrainians, prisoners of war, Roma and other peoples who suffered terrible injustice during those few years. Our commemorative program, or commemorative week, I should say, consists of 4 parts. Those 4 parts are one, youth, very important component to deal with and address and give opportunity for young people, not only from Ukraine, but also from North America, also from Israel. There will be approximately 250, if not more, young people who will be spending the entire week here, having a series of town hall meetings, topics ranging from contemporary political and military issues to the historical past, issues that are of concern for the present and future generations, with a whole host of very distinguished speakers from Ukraine and from virtually several other countries in Europe, in North America. The second program, and that program, by the way, the youth program, is under the direction of Dr. Ihor Strupak from Dnipro. The second program is a public symposium that takes place primarily on Monday and Tuesday of next week, a program directed by Dr. Vitaliy Hrynevych, which again is a series of public lectures by distinguished scholars, the likes of Professor Timothy Snyder, Professor Norman Naimark, the distinguished poet from Ukraine, Serhiy Zhadan, several other speakers and moderators. And also, in the context of the public symposium, will be a new book that I will leave to my colleague to speak about in a moment, that will be presented. The third program is an international competition that was held in the course of this last year for a Landschaft design, effectively a necropolis, proposals for a sacred space on the territory of Babyn Yar, and the winners of that international competition will be announced, and they will actually be here from 3 countries, as I remember, from Slovenia, France, and the United States. That will happen on Wednesday, and our colleague Dr. Nakhmanovych, who's responsible for that, will say a few more words. And then the fourth of the 4 programs that are component elements of our project is a commemorative concert on Thursday at 11:30 at the National Opera, in which, through music, we will pay homage to this dastardly event that took place 75 years ago. As you have heard, the public is welcome to many of the elements of our program, in particular the public symposium. So we welcome and are very thankful that we can be here, and after 2 years, finally, this important project is going to happen. Thank you very much.
Дякую вам. До слова запрошується доктор Владислав Hrynevych.
Vladyslav Hrynevych is given the floor. I would like to present this book here. This is Babyn Yar book that was created for 2 years. So it was printed recently in Duh Publishing House and Litera Publishing House. This is a modern representation of the tragedy of Babyn Yar in the comprehensive aspect. So before the events of Babyn Yar and after what happened in Babyn Yar. So this is about social and political memory, the lessons learned. And now, maybe, as of today, this is the most comprehensive representation of scientific and historic aspects of Babyn Yar tragedy. And speaking about Babyn Yar, we are speaking not only about history, but about the lessons that they are really acute at the moment. Because now the right to life is really threatened. There is an announced war, hybrid war of Russia against Ukraine, and the Crimea is occupied, and all those borders that were established after war, they are violated, and the lessons of the Second World War now are cancelled. So we should remind these things in the context of Babyn Yar tragedy. So this book was written by 12 scientists from different countries of the world, not only Ukraine. Here is representatives of Holland, France, Canada, the United States, Israel, but also this is firstly Ukrainian version of events. So this is Ukrainian view on the problem, and it is very interesting view for Ukrainian audience and foreign audience, and in the context of humanitarian values that are so important for the understanding for Ukrainians who want to join Europe. So, and also due to Ukrainian and Jewish encounter who took care of this project, this book was brought to life. There are 46 pages of illustrations, or maybe even 90 illustrations that represent both historic and cultural aspects of Babyn Yar. And I believe that this book will be really interesting for scientists, journalists, and for the general public in order to understand the overall complex connected with Babyn Yar. So the floor is given to Mr. Nakhmanovych. So I would like to say about the main event. On the 28th of starting at 9, there will be a presentation of the best projects that were submitted to International Architect Contest to create memorial and the necropolis Babyn Yar. And the week before this, all the best designs will be presented in the main hall of Ukrainian House. And starting from Thursday until 27th of November, these 7 best designs will be presented at the large-scale exhibition that is in the History of Kyiv Museum at Vladimirska Street and Bogdana Khmelnytskaya Street, and these projects are integrated in the exhibition connected with Babyn Yar tragedy. And this contest was carried out during this year and supported by Ukrainian Jewish Encounter and supported by international and national architect unions and Kyiv city administration. So this contest, they will also have some projects, and we hope that the events that will be held to commemorate Babyn Yar will motivate people to change their views on the memorials that and the territory of Babyn Yar. So this is an overall comprehensive landscape that should be really well organized, and people should feel this difficult story of Babyn Yar, this tragedy, that they should understand Holocaust and other tragic events and the continuous way these events. And so I would like to invite you to attend the exhibitions and to join the discussions and the ideas of creating this memorial park. Pavel Gunka is given the floor.
The comment that Professor Magocsi made, that accepting that such events happen on a particular territory is a sign of sophistication. And I tried to, when I was preparing the program for the memorial concert, I tried to use this as a foundation, but to go further, to innovate and to express hope that we will learn from the past and move into the future more wisely, perhaps. The concert is taking place on the 29th of September at the National Opera House here in Kyiv at 11:30 in the morning. And the participants are international stars of stage, classical music stage. That is the Hamburg Symphony Orchestra, which is flying in the next few days to perform with us. For them, in their words, it's a great honor for them to be part of it. For your information, the Hamburg Symphony Orchestra is made up of 75% non-German instrumentalists. So we truly have an international cast from all corners of the world. Together with singers, we have a tenor coming in from Canada, from Victoria, and we have a soprano coming in from Berlin. And to top all that, we have a wonderful, perhaps, and I think in my opinion, I must say this, the foremost conductor, Ukrainian conductor of her generation, Oksana Linyov, born in Ukraine, in Western Ukraine. At the moment, she is a principal guest conductor at the Bavarian State Opera. We're all working at the moment together to produce what I hope will be a memorable concert. Of course, in the program is Max Bruch's Kol Nidrai, which is a prayer that the Jewish people utilize at New Year. And then we will be performing Yevhen Stankovic's Kaddish Requiem. For that, because it's quite a complicated piece, we chose to invite a chorus from Ukraine, and of course the National Chorus of Ukraine, Dumka, will be performing with us. We also are introducing a new genre of performance. This is the innovative side of the idea. And that is, we will be presenting not a concert, not a chorus, not an orchestra, but a dramatic production of the three pieces that we will be singing. When you come to this, you will see exactly what I mean. But basically, we are hoping to achieve a much more direct message, which will touch the audience most profoundly. The third piece of music which we've chosen, which is the most important part, in my view, of the concert, is the Brahms Requiem. I chose this because I felt that this concert must have a journey from darkness to light, from autumn to spring, a journey to hope. I hope that those of you who will be attending will enjoy it and will be moved and will remember it for some time to come.
Дякую вам. І до слова запрошується пан Пітер Залмаєв.
I'll be very brief. I'm here representing the American Jewish Committee, on the board of which I sit. And I'd like to say, first of all, that the American Jewish Committee will be attending the events organized by the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter. It will be sending a large and high-level delegation. And in that, it will be joining a host of other Jewish organizations, including the World Jewish Congress, most notably, which will be headed by its president, Ron Lauder. World Jewish Congress has also supplied a large number of its youth activists who will be joining UJE organized youth conference. So all in all, the events have generated a massive international interest, and so we will be blessed to have a number of prominent thinkers, intellectuals, writers, artists from Israel, from Western Europe, from North America, and I'd also like to mention that the President of Israel, Mr. Rivlin, has also confirmed his attendance. Thank you.
Дякую, колеги. Я маю одне запитання до пана Гриневича. От, власне, щодо книги, яку ви...
One question to Mr. Hrynevych as concerns the book which you have presented now, where it can be bought and whether there is any internet version in the internet resource. This book is issued in 2 languages, 2,000 copies of the book in each language. It will be distributed at our workshops. It is possible to buy it in the Duch and Litera printing house, so there will not be a problem to buy this book. I think that those who would like to buy these first copies, they can come to the Ukrainian house on 26th of September. It would be distributed there. I don't know what price will be set. I think it would be not high, it would be democratic. Although this book is illustrated, it contains graphics, but it will be sold at not high prices. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the audience? There are no questions. Thank you, colleagues. We wish you every success.
Шановні колеги,
Dear colleagues, the next event is at 12:30.